I've spent my whole life believing strangers were out to get me. The whole world is a dangerous place, Elizabeth, my mom would say. I believed her. My parents have reinforced the importance of staying away from strangers as long as I can remember. Some of my earliest memories revolve around hiding behind my mom's leg whenever I would catch someone staring at me. It seemed to happen a lot when I was young, and kind of tapered off as I grew older. Now it hardly happens at all. It kind of makes me wonder if my parents' overprotective nature coupled with my naive and overactive imagination created paranoia out of nothing. Still though, I can see their squinting faces. I hear their hushed whispers. I can feel the panic that would rise inside my body, and then the immediate comforting warmth as I buried my face into the back of my mom's leg. We always left in a hurry when I got scared. My parents were good that way. There was never anything special about me. Nothing worth noting that it would make me stand out to a predator. I live an average life, only child, 2 dogs and a cat, average sized house in middle class suburbia. We used to move around a lot to accommodate my dad's work, but settled down in Kalgoorlie pretty nicely a few years ago, and have stayed put ever since. My folks and I do a yearly family vacation, usually to a foreign country. This year we decided to do a road trip around our own. It took some convincing on my part, but I always wanted to see Niagara Falls. Despite my parents' objections, I eventually managed to convince them that my cultural horizons had been broadened enough for the time being. So, we loaded up the box of my dad's F-150 and off we went. We decided to head west into BC, and then loop around and make our way to Ontario from there. It didn't take long for my initial excitement to wear off as the long stretches of road became a blur of sleep, music, and the movies I'd downloaded onto my laptop before we left. Soon enough, the diners and motels all seemed the same to me, and my brilliant idea of touring our country slowly lost its brilliance. I settled into a comfortable boredom, completely unaware that my entire existence was about to change. But then, you never really think anything out of the ordinary is going to happen to you, until it does. I stumbled out of my dad's truck in a tired haze after pulling into the same dirt parking lot of the same old diner in a different podunk town. I noticed that this particular diner had a lot of large screen TVs lining the wall, and figured that it was probably doubled as a local pub at night. I would probably need a place to drink if I lived here too. Everything after that is kind of a blur. I remember the pale old man with the receding hairline and thick glasses sitting in the corner, staring at me as we sat down. He looked like he hadn't slept in a month. The story of a little girl who had gone missing 14 years ago from a farm not far from here played on one of the TVs in the background. 3-year-old Kristen Montgomery, taken from her home in the middle of the night. My parents were too busy bickering about the routes to pay any attention, and I only vaguely listened until I noticed that the man was still staring at me. Parents found brutally murdered in their bedroom across the hall. He gave me the heebie-jeebies, and my overactive imagination kicked in. I wondered if he could be the kidnapper, and if he had killed the little girl like he had killed her parents so long ago. Maybe he had buried her somewhere close to this very diner. His physical description fit the bill according to the eyewitness account, and there was something about him that just didn't sit right with me. I started panicking when his eyes followed me as I went to the bathroom, and I started to feel like maybe I had made a mistake going in there on my own. I sat down in one of the 2 stalls and tried to steady my shallow breaths. I contemplated calling my mom to come get me, but decided against it. I took a deep breath, pushed the stall door open, and took a giant step towards the exit. I reached out, and my hand grazed the metal door handle, just as his hand clamped around my mouth. It reeked of cigarettes. He pulled me into his chest with surprising power, and I began thrashing and screaming as he pulled me out of the bathroom and towards the emergency exit down the hallway. He kept yelling at me, and all I could make out was that he was telling me to calm down. My arms were beginning to get tired, and I wondered what he had done to my parents. Were they dead? What was I going to do? This was, and always had been, my worst nightmare. He tightened his grip around me. I started to fade. Suddenly, my dad appeared at the other end of the hallway, and before I could blink, he was on us. I broke free, and vaguely remember hearing my dad's voice yell to me, "Run, Lizzie!" But I was already running, my mum beside me pulling me by the arm. By the time we got to the truck and realized that it was locked, the doors of the diner swung open. I felt my heart stop until I saw the familiar silhouette of my dad's figure appear in the doorway. I didn't even have the time to get my seatbelt on before my dad sent the tires spinning. I looked back and saw the man burst through the diner door, covered in blood and half running, half limping into the parking lot behind us. He was frantically waving his arms and screaming at me as if I would be able to hear him over the sound of the noping the fuck out. I felt relief wash over me when I realized that there was no way he could get me now. As the dust rose up behind our truck, the bright blue screen of one of the large TV screens caught my eye through the diner window. My eyes flickered towards it, and what I saw will haunt me for the rest of my life. The last thing that disappeared from my view as we sped away was a picture of a face that had been created by age progression software. The face of the girl who had gone missing 14 years ago. My face. He wasn't trying to kidnap me. He was trying to save me.